It doesn't chase. It waits, sealed inside armor plating thick enough to shrug off a direct hit, jaws carrying not a single tooth. And that's exactly why nothing it ever hunted lived to describe it. Welcome to the Devonian seas, 380 million years before the first dinosaur took a breath, when the ocean was already running its own arms race and land was still empty of anything with a spine. We're ranking the 5 deadliest hunters this world ever produced, not by size. Size gets you noticed. We're ranking by something colder. How many ways you had to die once one of these found you. Position 5 first. It's the one you'd underestimate. You're standing at the mouth of a Devonian river, water murky with sediment, and something the length of a rowboat is drifting just beneath the surface. No fin breaks the water. No ripple gives it away. You wouldn't see the teeth until it was already too late to matter. Rhizodus hibberti was one of the largest freshwater predators to ever exist, up to 7 meters long, built like a torpedo with fins instead of a tail fluke. It belonged to a group called lobe-finned fish, the same lineage that would, tens of millions of years later, produce the first animals to crawl onto land. Rhizodus never made that leap. It didn't need to. It was already unchallenged in the rivers and estuaries of what's now Scotland. Its jaw carried fangs over 20 centimeters long, curved, spaced like a bear trap, built to punch through armor plating and not let go. Bite once, and the wound alone could finish the job even if the prey somehow tore free. But here's where it drops in the ranking. Rhizodus was a freshwater specialist. It ruled rivers and estuaries, territory the open ocean's biggest killers never bothered entering, which meant, unlike everything ranked above it, it never had to face the deep water's true monsters. Because further out, past the river mouth, the water gets a lot more dangerous. Follow that river current out toward the coast, and the predators only get bigger. Hyneria lindi patrolled these estuary waters, a lobe-finned fish stretching over 2.5 meters, with a head built almost entirely around one purpose: ambush. Its skull was broad, flattened, studded with dense rows of conical teeth angled backward, not for chewing, for gripping. Anything that swam into that mouth wasn't getting pulled back out. Fossil evidence places Hyneria in the same waterways as some of the earliest 4-limbed vertebrates, the fish that were experimenting with pushing themselves onto muddy banks. For those early explorers, Hyneria wasn't a rumor. It was the reason so few of them survived long enough to leave descendants. There's a strange kind of irony sitting in Hyneria's fossil record. It may have been an apex predator of its shallow world, hunting the very lineage that would eventually walk, breathe air, and, 380 million years later, dig up its bones and put a name to it. But Hyneria, like Rhizodus, stayed close to shore. Coastal water, river deltas, shallow estuaries, that was its kingdom. And a kingdom with borders is still a kingdom with limits. Move further out into open water, and the animals stop being merely large. They start being almost impossible to believe. Now picture something bigger. Not a little bigger. Considerably bigger. Titanichthys may have stretched past 6 meters, rivaling the largest predators of its entire era. For decades, that size alone earned it a spot near the top of every Devonian predator list. Then paleontologists actually looked at its jaw. No shearing edges, no blades, no bite force worth mentioning. Where Dunkleosteus carries jaw plates built like guillotines, Titanichthys has thin, narrow, almost delicate bones, the kind you'd expect on something that never needed to kill anything at all. The leading theory now is that Titanichthys wasn't hunting. It was filter feeding, swimming open-mouthed through dense clouds of plankton, straining the ocean the way a basking shark does today. A 6-meter armored fish, and its most dangerous weapon might have been nothing more than sheer volume of water moved. It's not settled science. The jaw mechanics are still debated, and some researchers think Titanichthys retained at least some capacity for smaller prey. What's not in dispute is the size of the eye sockets. Small, almost an afterthought on a skull that large, the kind of detail that shows up on animals that don't rely on sight to find their next meal. But the leading picture is startling on its own. The biggest fish in this entire ranking may not have been a predator by choice at all, which makes the next name on this list land even harder, because everything about it was built for exactly one purpose. Everything ranked so far has been a fish. This one isn't. Jaekelopterus rhinanii belonged to a group called Eurypterids, sea scorpions, though scorpion undersells what they actually were. This one stretched over 2.5 meters, making it the largest arthropod ever known to have existed. Bigger than any insect, any crab, any creature with a shell and jointed legs, before or since. Its weapons weren't jaws. They were a pair of claws, serrated, curved, built like paired shears, mounted on limbs long enough to strike from a distance most Devonian prey never saw coming. Biomechanical studies of related pterygotid Eurypterids show those claws were engineered specifically to punch through armor. Not soft prey. Armored prey. Placoderms. The exact kind of heavily plated fish that dominated this era's waters. Which means Jaekelopterus wasn't hunting the weak. It was hunting the tanks. Nothing about it moved like a fish, hunted like a fish, or died like a fish. It was an arthropod the size of a grown man, patrolling Devonian rivers and coastal waters with a set of blades no armor plating could fully stop. And for a long time, it may have had nothing above it in the water column at all. Nothing, that is, except the one thing this entire ranking has been building toward. Dunkleosteus torelli didn't need speed. It didn't need stealth. It needed one thing to close, and everything else took care of itself. Up to 4 meters of armored head and torso, plates thick enough to stop another Dunkleosteus's bite, because that happened. Fossil specimens have been found with healed bite wounds matching another Dunkleosteus's jaw. This animal ate its own kind, and sometimes survived the attempt. It had no teeth. It didn't need any. 2 bony plates lined the jaw, sharpened against each other every time the mouth closed, functioning like self-sharpening shears. Estimates put the bite force near 4,000 pounds per square inch, among the strongest bite of any fish that has ever lived, matching or exceeding what a great white shark can produce today, from an animal that evolved 300 million years earlier. The strike was fast. Some estimates put the jaw's opening speed at a fraction of a second, fast enough that prey rarely had time to register what had happened before it was already over. Fossilized stomach contents show partially digested fish, undigested chunks regurgitated whole. This wasn't an animal that fed carefully. It was an animal that fed however it wanted, on whatever came close enough. Placoderms, sharks, other Dunkleosteus, the only real limit on its diet was what fit inside its jaws. For close to 20 million years, this was as close to a rule of the Devonian Ocean as any animal ever got. If Dunkleosteus wanted you, size was not going to save you. Then, 359 million years ago, none of it mattered anymore. The Hangenberg extinction drained oxygen from the oceans, collapsed reef systems, and rewrote the rules faster than any predator could adapt to. Dunkleosteus vanished. Every placoderm vanished. An entire body plan, armor plating, shearing jaw blades, 20 million years of dominance, erased in a geological blink. What survived weren't the biggest jaws or the thickest armor. It was a group of small, cartilage-bodied fish that had spent the entire Devonian avoiding attention rather than demanding it, the early sharks. Unarmored. Unremarkable. And still here, 400 million years later. The ocean's greatest killer didn't lose to something stronger. It lost to something that simply knew how to keep existing.